right, y'all. Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast. And, we're back at it again. World Series is taking a break today, and we decided to make a video and talk about what's going on. Today, we finally got some new news. Not a lot of things have been happening with the Mets, but want to get talking a little bit about what's going on with the Mets and the potential trades that may be happening. But we just got news just a couple of hours ago about Desi Drewskull going back to the Yankees, and that's I guess that's fine. I mean I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know if I really care too much that he went back to the Yankees. At the end of the day, he's not a guy that. Um, I think it's going to make or break. He might even become their bullpen coach, is from what Andy Martino mentioned. So, it is what it is. I'm not going to get too caught up on the coaches' hires. We're going to, kill them when they do well and praise them when they kill them when they do badly and praise them when they do well. And so I'm not going to get too caught up on Desi not coming back. Hopefully, we do get some news on the pitching coach soon, so we get an idea who's coming. But just really quick, just wanted to just talk about what's going on with the team and um, all the changes and Kai Correa coming, as our bench coach. Surprise to everybody. We weren't expecting him to be the guy, but supposedly he's a guy that's up and coming. Future coach, and for me, that's I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. And so it is what it is. And the other coach is Jeff Albert as our hitting coach, and as our hitting coach, and so it's a guy that's been in the organization that is going to run things. He's got that funky title, and so obviously, we can get caught up on his title, but he's a guy that is been in an organization, knows the guys, is credited with helping potentially helping Alvarez out, and so if he can get Alvarez back to form, maybe he'll help out the other guys that are going on, struggling. Because at the end of the day, as we see what's going on in the World Series, we need guys that make contact, right? Enough of this striking out, enough of true outcomes. We need to get guys that put the bat on the ball, and so Jeff Albert hopefully does that. We need our bottom of the lineup, 5 through 9, to actually put the bat on the ball. No more strikeouts. And so it's one of those things where I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Jeff Albert is who he is, and so I'm not going to get too caught up. I like the hire. I don't like the hire. It doesn't really matter. We want to see results. As a Met fans, we want to see results. But to get to what we actually all want to talk about in the video is our starting pitching, right? I'm not going to get too into talking about Pete because I think we need him back. We need Pete back. If you would have asked me this uh, month ago, I might have felt differently. But seeing what all is out there and seeing the market, I think his offensive production, if it's at the right price, I've always wanted Pete back. It's not about not wanting Pete back, but I can't get on board if he wants this outrageous contract. So if it's at most a 4-year contract, I want Pete back. I think even though he had at times been one of those guys that didn't come through as much as we wanted to during the season. He had a great season, just like Juan Soto, but at times he came up short, just like Juan Soto. So I want him back. I think his production is valuable. He's able to do it here in New York, and so I am all on board the Pete train as long as the Pete train don't get too crazy. So that's my stance on that. I want Pete back. I want everybody to hear that. I want Pete back. I just don't want to be crippled by a contract in a few years. And don't get, I don't want to get started on the whole Cohen has more money than anybody else. I'm not getting into that talk because at the end of the day, he's a businessman, and business people don't like to lose money. So we can't go under that assumption just because he's got the money that he's going to spend it willy nilly. That's the wrong assumption. And if you have that assumption, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Cohen's going to spend wisely. Just because he spent like crazy the last few years doesn't mean he's going to continue to spend. There's a reason why he brought David Stearns in, and he brought in David Stearns so he can steady the ship. He wants a steady ball club, a consistent ball club. That's why I never thought that um, Mendy was going anywhere because Cohen wants a steady ship. you know we we as Met fans always looking to fire coaches left and right because of one bad year, and that's crazy. The great organizations don't change coaches the way us Met fans want it to happen. So I never thought Mendy was going anywhere. I know a lot of people want to speculate that. I think those are just talking points because that's who the media is. And they know us as Met fans are desperate and want things to happen. And so they're going to go with a thread, even if it's not true. That whole Mendy, I don't believe it was ever anything to it. And as soon as Stearns was asked, uh, right away, Mendy's coming back. So there was no question on if he was coming back. On if he's on the hot seat in the beginning of the season, he's got to really have a bad start for him to be on the hot seat. Only way that he's on the hot seat is if he has a bad start. So I don't go with he's going into the season on the hot seat. That's again Mets thinking from the past. We don't want these. We want the ship to be steady. We want consistency, and the only way to get consistency is to give a guy a chance. And I think Stearns is going to do that to the chagrin of many Mets fans. And so I'm not under that umbrella that thinks that Mendy needs to be let go. Still have a lot of faith in Mendy. This season was hands down an organizational failure. Not just one person was to blame for the failure that was going on with the Mets. So to blame it on Mendy or to blame it all on Stearns or to blame it all on the players, no, everybody had their hand in this mess. And so if you want to make changes, you're going to make wholesale changes when the time is right. And I don't think Stearns' second year is the time to do all those wholesale changes. I don't know if you guys know, but Stearns is going to be here probably for the duration of his contract. And if you think that Mendy isn't also going to be here for that same amount of time, I think you're I think you're fooling yourself because I think he's going to be here just as long as Stearns is, unless I'll put this caveat unless he gets off to this ridiculous slow start, which I doubt it. With the team that we currently have and with the team that we're hoping to have, I doubt that Mendy's ever going to get to that kind of start. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not even going to, think about it as an option for the Mets. But let's get on to potential trades. You know, um, there's a couple of guys out there that Mets fans want. They want um, Sandy Alcantara and um, you know, Scooble. That's the two guys that are of the Mets' desire, right? A Mets fan's desire, right? I personally um, like Sandy better. To be honest with you, I like Sandy better just because he can go deep in the games, and I believe that one more year after Tommy John surgery, he's going to be the Sandy that we all know, right? We started seeing glimpses at the end of the season of that Sandy, and if the Sandy that won the Cy Young, I think he's a better pitcher than Scooble. To be honest with you, Scooble is a great pitcher, but he's not going deep in most games. He's a 100 pitch pitcher, and whenever that hits, he's out of the game. They even asked him in the playoff game if he wanted to, if he could go longer, and he says, "I was done." So, if they trade for Scoop, I'm gonna cheer for him. But me personally, I want to see the Mets, if that's a trade possibility, is to get Sandy. And also with this whole Scoop thing, I don't think that he's available. Why would the Tigers want to trade a player? The argument is that they're going to trade the player because they don't want to lose him to free agency and just for a draft pick. And it would make sense if you were a different team, right? If you were a team like the Marlins, if you were a team like the White Sox, if you were a team that's not competing for the playoffs at the moment, but the Tigers are. They were in the playoffs last year, and they were in the playoffs this year. And why not run it back with Scooble? Why not try it one more time with Scooble and see if you can get lightning in a bottle and win the World Series? To be honest with you, that's how I would run it back with if I was the GM of the Tigers, because if you win a World Series, you're golden. Look at Texas. Look at Texas GM. I can't think of his name right now, but he won the World Series, and he flat out publicly said they're tearing it down. You think the fans want his head on the platter? No, no, because he won the World Series, and so I do think that you know us thinking that Scooble is on the table is a little bit outrageous. If he is, by all means, Mets go trade for him. But I just don't think he's on the table because he's a guy that is going to go for a World Series with the Tigers. I believe at least for one more year. And at the end of the day, he's going to be a free agent. Boris is his agent, so he's going to be a free agent. So I don't think Scoop was available. I don't think that we should stress out. I do think that Stearns needs to make the call. Needs to make the call, make sure that he isn't available, because we also don't want to be left with our pants down and not at least try. So I'm not sitting here saying that don't try. I just don't think that he's available. If it was my team, I wouldn't make him available. I would go for it. But I do want Stearns to give it a try and see if he's available. But I still think Sandy is the better option. But if none of those two guys are actually available or get traded, the talk is about a Peralta or somebody like that. Even a Luis Castillo. But honestly, if it's up to the second tier of top guys to trade for me, I would hold on to our trade chips for another player, because I think you can get the same amount of uh, of production from a Dylan Cease. I'm a right now. You're probably saying Dylan Cease. He's not a top pitcher. He's a workhorse. He is a workhorse, and if we're thinking of trading for Peralta, why not Dylan Cease? because him, Peralta, and Dylan Cease are basically the same pitcher. And so why give up pieces for Peralta when Dylan Cease you can just get for money, right? And so I think that Dylan Cease is the guy, the top target if Scooble or Sandy aren't available. Again, let me say that one more time. If Scooble and Sandy aren't available, because those are the two guys that I want. I want a top guy at the top of the rotation. And for those that are thinking, let's get multiple pieces, just remember we have to get rid of guys to be able to do that. Our rotation, in essence, is full right now, even with getting not getting a guy, right? We got Senga, we got Manaya, we got Peterson, we got Holmes, we got McLean. That's five guys last time I checked, right? And so, you know, we can't think that it's going to be just flip of the switch and we're going to get one of these guys. No, we have to make sure that not only, and I still want the top guy because at the end of the day, if we do have a Senga, I think a six-man rotation is where they want to go. And I think a six-man rotation is still something that they want to tinker with because of the young guys coming up. They're used to doing a six-man rotation, and also I think they want to give these guys rest. They don't want to overwork them in the season. So I do think that going to a six-man is still part of future plans, with a Senga here or not. But if we do not get Scooble or Sandy, I do want them to go after Dylan Cease. Some of you may be saying, why not Zach Gallen? Well, you know, Zach Gallen hasn't, he pitched well at the end of the season this year, but he's a guy that has not been producing much. His metrics don't look good. He's not been the Zach Gallen that took that team to the World Series, and even in the World Series, he wasn't that guy. But I don't think that Zach Gallen is a guy that we should go after if a Dylan Cease is available. Now, if Dylan Cease isn't available, I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on Zach Gallen and seeing what our pitching lab can do with a Zach Gallen. So, I'm not saying no to a Zach Gallen, but I just don't think that that's the guy that we should primarily look for. So, Dylan Cease, I think, is the guy. I don't want to keep harping on this. I think you guys um, hear what I'm saying. I don't know if you agree with me or not. Leave down in the comments what you think. If Dylan Cease is the guy, would you be happy with that? Would you be happy with Scuba or Sandy? Which one would you prefer? Would you prefer a Scuba? I know Scuba is probably the latest guy that we're all after because he's the last guy we saw, right? He performed well in the playoffs, and but Sandy also shut us down. So that's fresh in my mind, anyways. So I think we need to uh, think about that and let me know what you think. I want to hear from you from y'all and see what guys you think we should be going after. Am I not thinking of anybody else that we should be thinking about? So let me know what you think in the comments. This is going to be more of a short video because at the end of the day, there's not really anything going on. I do want next week to touch on the free agents that we may have and the potential trades that we may have on the team, like Vientos and some people are saying McNeil. I wouldn't mind seeing him being traded, and others like Nemo. Some people are talking about Nemo being traded, but I'll touch on all that in the future in next week, if not unless something happens and we talk about something else. But it's not. It looks like it's going to be a series between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, and so I'm excited to watch some baseball without any stress. So, but until then, let's go Mets.